Hello, I'm Errol Tucker with Michael Collins here, and we're here at the Honda Racing HPD facility in beautiful Santa Clarita, California.
Today we're going to take a look at using a part from HPD in installing caster and camber plates on a Honda Civic.
So folks, we're inside this impressive facility that Honda HPD has put together.
Errol, I'm like a kid in a candy store. Every room is bigger than the last. Inside the shop here, we've got this brand new purpose-built Honda Civic race car that we're going to use as a test bed to demonstrate this new product on.
Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
There's a reason why. In 4 years of powering every car in the Indianapolis 500 race, not a single Honda engine has failed. It's not the parts we make them from. It's the part we put in to every Honda.
So here we have your standard Honda Civic shock hat. Great for street use, but we're not going to use it for racing. Here we have HPD's latest product, caster and camber adjustment for the Honda Civic. We're going to go over to Errol and we're going to see how this goes on the car.
So Mike has showed the parts that we're actually going to be able to use for this conversion, this camber caster plate conversion on this Honda Civic. I'm over here at our test car, and we have to gain access to the actual shock mount that's up here in this corner. How we do that is we're going to have to remove this weather stripping, just pull it off a little bit and tuck it out of the way so it's not in our way. And there is a plastic access panel that we will then pop off very easily. And that gives us access to the 3 nuts on top of our stock shock mount. With that, as I said, I've done a little pre-disassembly, if you will, so I loosened these up. But what you will do is go in there with a wrench, loosen those bolts up, take all 3 off, and then that'll allow the shock to drop free. Make sure that the car is not jacked up, it's on the ground, because you don't want, once you loosen that up, that wheel is going to drop down. So let's do this while the car is down on the ground. Once we got those 3 bolts off, then we will jack the car up and the suspension will drop a little bit and pull the shock out of the upper mount. So now that we've shown you how to do that part, let's go below the car and show you the rest. Okay, so this caster camber plate is going to give you anywhere between 2.7 to 5 degrees of negative camber, and then you have about 6 to 9 degrees of caster that this is going to give you adjustability in. There are 2 main points that you have to remember with this installation before you put it in the car, is that it is directional. So you have an arrow etched out on the plate itself that shows that this part has to face towards the front of the car when installing. So that's very important to note. The other important thing is that it has cutout washers that sit below the nut, the bolt itself, and you need to make sure that those go in there and are facing the right direction so that it fits inside the sleeve here when you're bolting this down. So now let's put this on top of our shock and then get it up inside the car. So we have our aftermarket shock and spring along with our camber plate that we're going to be putting in here for the race application. So basically, once again, make sure that the arrow is faced in the correct direction. We're going to go up under here. Look out for your speed sensor cable. Pop that in. Going to want to lift up the spindle, grab one of your bolts, feed that through. Once you have one in there, then it's going to be easy to hook up the other one. Place your speed sensor cable back. Your brake line, you're going to bolt back up into the stock position. Tighten down your nuts for the lower mount. Once we get everything pretty snug, then we'll actually go up top and affix the bolts for the camber plate. Okay folks, so we're at the top end of the car again, and we have installed our caster camber plate with the shock. What we need to do now is just bolt down from the top, the 3 bolts on the top end of the caster camber plate. I want to reiterate that this is for a race application. It is absolutely not for a street application, and that's not what Honda HPD made this for. So folks, I'm going to continue to do this installation. In the meantime, we're going to take a break here. When we come back from the break, we're going to have an interview that I'm sure you're going to want to see.
Hey, Mario.
Hey, what do you got in this thing?
16 valve, 2.4 liter engine, 200 horsepower. Air conditioning.
32 valve, 3.5 liter engine, 650 horsepower, air conditioning.
Honda builds every IndyCar engine. It's our commitment to racing and engineering. The same engineering that goes into the all-new Civic, the official vehicle of the IZOD IndyCar Series.
With so much racing going on in the world, you'd have to be a four-headed monster to keep up with it all. Luckily, we have that. Join Peter Keene, Bill Wood, Errol Tucker, and their guest driver analyst each week for an opinionated look at the news coming out of the racing world. Remember, it's GoRacingTV.com for all your racing and video needs. Errol Tucker here with Go Racing TV, and we've been at the Honda Racing HPD facility all week, and the week has ended with an invitation to an open house that Honda is having for some of its fans. And here sitting next to me is Jr Hildebrand. Jr, thanks for taking some time speaking with us.
Anytime, man.
So Jr, obviously, you know, Go Racing TV, we're very connected into the grassroots movement, and you are a perfect testament to what a grassroots racer can do. You were karting, moved into Formula Ford open wheel racing, and then throughout the ladder. How has that trip been for you?
Oh, it's been great. You know, like you said, I've kind of followed the ladder system from sort of your hometown racing. I grew up in Northern California, actually, so did a lot of local racing when I was young. I was still in school at the time, and that was a high priority for me then, so I was able to do both, and you know, once I graduated, was able to continue graduating up the ranks, I guess you could say. So it's been a good ride so far.
And so you actually started out karting like a lot of open wheel drivers have, and from what I understand, I think your first season in full karting, you pretty much won a championship.
Yeah, I won my first ever go-kart race, so I got that to fall back on, if nothing else, right? Yeah, I started with the Jim Russell Racing School up in Northern California at Infineon Raceway, and so started there. It was just an arrive and drive series, and like you said, went on to win the championship, and so got things started off right, I guess you could say.
And then came back the following year, won another karting championship, and then moved up into actual open wheel racing, and that was with the Formula Ford series?
Yeah, it was. So then after a couple years later in 2006, I won the National Formula Ford 2000 championship. And then continued moving up through what was then the Champ Car Atlantic Series to Indy Lights, and then made my IndyCar debut this year.
And you actually won a Indy Lights championship in 2009. Now, as you said, you debuted in Mid-Ohio for your first IndyCar race. How was that?
It was a trip. I mean, you go up the ranks just trying to get to that point, and so then when you finally get there, it's kind of a shock. It's like, oh my God, like I made it, And so, but then you got to quickly refocus and get the job done. So for the first event, it was, there was a little bit of teething there, but we were kind of right on pace the whole weekend, despite, some troubles that we had elsewhere. And then moving on from there to what is my hometown event at Sonoma, the second race that I did, we really started being able to put it together. So
that must have been a blast, being able to race in, the premier series here in America in front of your hometown fans.
Yeah, it was kind of a big deal. I mean, we had a lot of friends, a lot of family, a lot of supporters coming out. So a lot of people say, does that add a lot of stress having all those people out there? But really, it's just great to have all the support, So it was a lot of fun.
Great. So now, what are we going to see in the up and coming year from JR?
Well, having won the Lights Championship in 2009, a big part of the reason that I wasn't full-time this year in the series was just because none of the rides really opened up. There's a little bit of a glass ceiling there. If nobody moves around, nobody retires. And so the aim, obviously, is to be full-time next year and be able to start, really fighting for race wins and sort of moving up the leaderboard.
Sounds good. So now, if you can give any advice to some of our, grassroots racers out there, our drivers who may be young and in the karting world, or maybe, a little more progressed in their amateur career, what would be some advice you can give them being so successful?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is just to be smart. A lot of people, you see a lot of young guys these days, skipping out on their education to go pursue a dream, and that's all important to be able to have that kind of commitment, but there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, I think, I didn't start racing go-karts till I was 14, which to a layperson seems early, but, in the big scheme of things, that's kind of late compared to a lot of the guys that I race against. And then I think that having as big a focus on my education and growing up kind of in your more normal surroundings has played a big role in my ability to, proceed, progress as quickly as I have. So it was a lot of just playing it smart and not taking it too quickly, not trying to rush into things that I wasn't really ready for. And so there's a lot of guys that jump a rung and then end up having to go back down before they can continue moving up. So I think those would be the biggest things.
Sounds good. Well, we know that this is kind of what we call the silly season in racing, so hopefully things will work out for you for next year, and we look to see you in the series full time.
Thanks very much, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.